Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog. By the way, there is, yes, a link scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Tenkar's there, tavern.games/WFRP. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. This will take you to Humble Bundle. There's a link for the current edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the 4th edition, and it's got a lot of support material for it. It has the entire Enemy Within campaign, probably one of the best fantasy campaigns of any edition, any rule set. I ran it back with the first edition of the rules. Really good stuff. So, why do I have what looks like to be a random post up on the screen? Well, far be it from me to dance on the grave of a website that isn't officially dead yet, but it's getting there. Go Media is effectively forcing Kotaku to pivot away from news, and they're calling it news. I'll call it something else, and demanding that its staff of 7 writers churn out an impossible number of guides per week. Not what writers signed up for, are not why people visit Kotaku in the first place. Stupid and cruel. According to a source close to the situation, Kotaku staff will be expected to create 50 guides a week at the site, which is essentially, one guide a week per writer per day, like 7 days a week. That's substantial. Currently, Kotaku's homepage features a prominent game tips and guides module at the top of the page, in a space that was previously reserved for major stories and breaking news. Staff members have criticized the homepage redesign on social media, noting that Kotaku's major source of traffic is not guides. Well, I don't think it really is news. Kotaku hasn't been doing gaming news for a long time. Now, why do I say that? Well, I guess I should link to an article from a number of years ago, probably a fairly infamous, famous one. The Fantasy's Widow, the fight over the legacy of Dungeons and Dragons. And this is all about Gail. Now, this is Cecilia. Cecilia was the reporter, writer on this one. And it's a weird article if you really read it. It's a long article, folks. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. It's from 2019. It got published during GaryCon. What a coinkydink. It's also the last year I went to GaryCon. And this article I reread it and I was trying to figure out, is this a hit piece against the gaming community? Is this a hit piece against Gail? Is this a hit piece against certain personalities? I mean, there's certainly a slap of me. Yes, I'm in there. I only get 2 paragraphs, folks. Don't get too excited. All right? But when you read it, it's looking down. Gail does not come out looking great. Gail comes out looking like she has a certain imbalance going on. The whole thing about this missing manuscript that she refused to look for, but accused a friend of Alex's of having taken it, and says that the police in Lake Geneva, they don't theft is too big. They just deal with drunks. They don't deal with theft. There's weirder stuff that didn't even make this article. But Cecilia was looking for sensationalism. She was looking for something that would strike at those chords, and it was released during GaryCon because part of it is, well, Gail didn't do GaryCon anymore because she was afraid of this blogger named Eric Tenkar and what I might do. All right? So, because I meticulously was following the whole fiasco that was the Gygax Memorial Fund. By the way, my investigation on the Gygax Memorial Fund is just mentioned in passing, and it's me just investigating her treatment of the legacy or some crap like that. It has nothing to do with the fact that the monies for the Gygax Memorial Fund produced nothing. Here we are, by the way, 5 years after this article was published, and we got a park bench to show for it and nothing else. I'm not saying anything bad about Paul Stormberg. I'm glad it moved on to somebody who is potentially competent in dealing with this, but this was way beyond any of Gail's capabilities. But it's interesting if you read the article because Gail does tell you why she pulled the rights to everything that was being published, because it was hers now. It was hers. Okay? And it was hers. She had to make decisions on it, and she wasn't ready to make decisions on it. And here we are, 5 years later than the article was written, and finally the courts have stepped in and are making decisions on it. Now we're finally getting Gary's legacy out there to the masses. So it's not the article, though, they thought it was going to be. It really is a hit piece against the gaming community. Okay? And I think it was meant to be. It was meant to show Gail in a much nicer light than it does show her. I think Cecilia herself might have been conflicted. Cecilia, by the way, took great personal offense that we communicated back and forth, and then she hit me with these questions that were on the level of, why do you beat your wife type of things. Like it was stuff that already had no good answer to it, and if you denied it, then well, she would know better. So I literally published our entire conversation on the blog side, and she took great offense at that. But that meant I held nothing back, right? I wasn't reinterpreting it. I wasn't. You got to see the conversation as it happened. You weren't going to get that from Kotaku. You aren't going to get that from any of these news sites. All right. There was one word of advice that I remember. As a cop, you weren't allowed to talk to the media, but trust me, the media would find you and want to talk to you. And the media is less about the news when it comes to, especially it's like the New York Post, Kotaku, the World Sun, or, the National Enquirer. They're all on the same level. They want to sell a story. They're not looking for the truth. They're looking for the sensational. And that is much of what Kotaku published. Now, they want to take it away from being a publisher. They wanted to write, your game guides. Personally, me, I haven't looked at a game guide in probably a better part of a decade. But that's what they want to turn that into. And so basically, it's the death knell. Or it's the end of Kotaku as we know it. And I feel fine. I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to be saying that there are better written, more balanced sites when it comes to the going on and events in the gaming world. Kotaku wasn't one of them. So nothing shall be lost. Do I take a little schadenfreude in watching them go down the shitter? Sure. I don't think that their articles were the most accurate, the most ethical. I mean, she says that she stopped going to GaryCon because I was going to be at the special guest dinner. I've asked Luke directly. I go, first off, Luke, was I ever invited to a dinner that I don't even know about? And he goes, no, you're never invited. Don't take it personal. I was like, did you ever tell Gail that I was invited? He goes, no, why would I tell Gail that? Exactly. So there's a lot of, again, Gail was taking at her word for all this. So that's the articles that we will no longer be getting. So I think Kotaku can rest well, and the remaining authors can do their finest to write one article a day a piece for game guides. like maybe the 1900th Minecraft game guide can be put out by Kotaku, and we will all rejoice, or we will all ignore it because that literally what Kotaku has been for the last half a decade or more. Something to avoid, something to ignore. So, I thought some of my readers and listeners would be interested in hearing this update. It's been all over social media the last couple of days. Again, I shed no tears. Maybe a little tapping of the feet, but not much. But go with God, right? God bless. All right, folks, on that note, everyone be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. Next live stream will be Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, on this very channel. I do love our live streams. I do love interacting with our viewers, our listeners. So please participate. If you are watching, you got a question, you got a comment, add it during the live stream. I will get to it. I sometimes fall behind. I do sometimes fall behind. That's part of it. But I do enjoy it. All right, folks. God bless. I'll catch you later. Be good.